rights in the majority Sunni country. On Saturday, the Interior Minister banned all such demonstrations. And Shia Muslims have also been pushing for more rights in neighbouring Bahrain. The Crown Prince there has warned all sides against escalating the standoff. Protesters have been camped out at Manama's Pearl roundabout since last month, but their standoff won only minor concessions. So, on Sunday, hundreds campaigned at Gudaibiya Palace, the Prime Minister's residence. Hundreds more on Monday then rallied outside the US Embassy, calling for intervention. Our correspondent in Bahrain, who we're not naming for his own safety, sent us this report.
Calling for the overthrow of Bahrain's ruler, King Hamad. They're headed for Pearl Roundabout. It's been occupied by pro-democracy protesters for nearly 3 weeks. Shia opposition figures say that after years of repression and the killing of 7 protesters last month, it's time for change. Sunday started with a demonstration outside the palace where weekly cabinet meetings happen. Sunni and Shia leaders denounced the Prime Minister, the King's uncle, who's been in power for over 4 decades. And they called for foreigners given jobs in the security forces to be expelled from the country, saying the majority Shia population here is being squeezed out of public sector jobs. Hours later, the government reiterated people's right to freedom of expression, but everyone's waiting to see if they offer real concessions.
The government is, they've called for a dialogue with opposition parties and most of civic society to reach some sort of a compromise towards, some sort of a constitutional democracy.
The previous announcement of 20,000 new government jobs has done nothing to quell the anger on the streets. What's not clear is how long the protests will continue and whether the security forces will continue to keep their distance. AlJazeera, Manama.
So one more story from the region. Egypt's new Prime Minister is expected to address the nation on Monday. On Sunday, hundreds of protesters gathered in front of the state security headquarters in Cairo, demanding entry to gather documents. Egyptians have been trying to gain access to information gathered by the ousted President Hosni Mubarak's regime. Excuse me. Coming up, 100 days of government in Somalia, but is the country any closer to peace? Plus more violence in Cote d'Ivoire as gangs of youths loot homes belonging to allies of the opposition leader Alassane Ouattara. Right now we're going to talk weather though with Everton Fox. Snow in Europe, what are we, start of March now. Still common to be getting this sort of level of snow?
Well, it's not unusual, but this is a real late blast of winter, Kamal, if the truth be known. We're talking quite a bit of snow as well. We've got a keen northerly wind coming down across Greece and Turkey. Athens, for example, should be getting up to around 15, 16 degrees at this time of year.
But it's snowing instead.
It's snowing. We're looking at a top temperature of 6 Celsius, yes. So bitterly cold weather. And we will see quite a dumping of snow to come across much of Turkey over the next couple of days.
Over the north of Beijing, as the visibility drops, you'll still see things with perfect clarity.
We take a look at the satellite picture and you can see there's a fair amount of cloud just around that southeastern corner of Europe. Follow this little area of cloud sinking its way southwards out of Ukraine into Romania. It will continue to drift further southwards over the next couple of days. So there you go. You can see plenty of snowfall making its way into Turkey. A little bit of snow not too far away from Athens as well. As I said, a top temperature here of around 6 degrees Celsius. For central areas of Europe, it is generally fine and dry. Temperatures around 7 or 8 degrees, so that's not too bad at all. We have got a fair amount of rain making its way across the North Sea into Norway, turning to snow over the higher ground. As for London and indeed Paris, we're looking at temperatures here getting into double figures, 13 Celsius for Paris and similar values as we go on into the middle part of the week. So not too bad for much of Europe. It is rather disturbed across a good part of Spain and Portugal. And take a look at the snow as we go on into Wednesday, down into that southeastern corner. Some parts could see 60 or 70 centimetres of snowfall. A couple of feet, certainly a possibility here. Now, we've seen a fair amount of snow too into northern parts of the US, particularly around the Great Lakes. It's still there into New England, eastern parts of Canada. More wintry weather making its way in, and we have flood concerns for the region.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Everton, thank you for that. US Defence Secretary Robert Gates has arrived in Afghanistan for talks. His visit comes as US troops prepare to begin a phased withdrawal in July. Afghan President Hamid Karzai, meanwhile, has announced a timetable for the gradual handover of security responsibility. US and NATO leaders have agreed to an ambitious plan for full withdrawal by 2014. The international forces have made some progress in securing areas of Afghanistan and training the Afghan forces to take over security in their own country. The violence does continue, and as Sue Turton discovered, many civilians in Kandahar province are still living in fear of the Taliban.
Driving down Highway 1 in what many Americans call the heart of darkness. The Taliban was born in the district of Jirai, west of Kandahar city. It's here that some of those extra 30,000 US troops were sent to stop its momentum.
When we moved into this area, it was completely under Taliban control.
When the 1st Squadron 75th Cavalry Regiment arrived here last summer, the whole area south of Fob Wilson was Taliban territory. But over the winter, they've made the major roads more secure and set up small outposts dotted across this hostile terrain, including Pashmel south and Sablagay to the southeast.
You have to set a permanent presence to show that the people that you're going to stay, because the people here are still fence-sitting.
And out on patrol from the Sablagay outpost, people are clearly nervous about speaking out.
Is there anything else you would like to tell me about the Taliban?
Don't ask us these kinds of questions. It will bring trouble for us in the future. We cannot be against you. We cannot be against the Taliban. You make trouble for me in the future.
If we talk about Taliban, they'll cut our hair and slit our throats.
So that's why US soldiers and Afghan soldiers are here. We're trying to protect you from the Taliban.
You leave now, you go back to your base, and then they come.
In this area, there are Taliban. You're in this village, they're in that village. You go to that village, they go to the next one.
At Pashmel South the next day, a Taliban attack on a patrol just 500 metres from the base. Air support is called in. The Afghan soldiers think they've seen the fighter, but he disappears into the undergrowth.
After yesterday's attack, this patrol has now been set up less than 200 metres outside of the base, because that's how close the Taliban are now getting. But that's a success than how it was just a few months ago, when they couldn't even stick their heads outside of the gate without drawing gunfire.
But our gains they're not reversible. You know, this is going to be another summer or two that's going to determine what our true success is here.
Success to him means holding on to these gains. To the local people, it's about backing the winning side, and they're not sure yet who that will be. Sue Turton, Al Jazeera, Kandahar.
Truck drivers in Gaza have started an indefinite strike. They're protesting against Israel's permanent closure of the commercial Kani crossing, which is in the north, leaving only the Karam Abu Salam crossing in the south as the way for goods to get in and out of Gaza. Nicole Johnston with more now from Rafah.
Here at Rafah, hundreds of Gaza's truck drivers are on strike. They blocked the entrance to the Karam Abu Salam crossing, and that means at the moment no supplies can get in and out of Gaza. Now they're striking because Israel has closed the Kani crossing.